So let's spin this around so the folks can see what you're doing and talk about the look you have planned
Okay,
today.
so the look I have for my beautiful model today is I am doing a beaded volume weft. So what I'm doing is I'm creating a nice, clean, and even foundation of beads. So that way I could go ahead and sew this onto her head. So what it's gonna do, it's gonna lay extremely flat to her head. And then with this, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna shadow root this hair. I'm gonna install it first, shadow root it, and then I'm gonna do, I don't know, I'm kind of feeling her, she's already pretty icy, so I kind of maybe want to enhance that and do like a shadow root on the extensions to match hers, and then just melt everything together. Just to kind of give her pre-existing blonde a little bit more of some brightness and pop without having to chemically alter her already blonde hair.
So are you going to just do the one track? That's it for today?
Actually, when I measured it, I actually have, I measured, she's gonna have enough for what's called my impact row. And then what I'm gonna do, since I measured it out enough, I'm gonna go back and do an ape row. So I do have enough hair just to give her some extraness, because that's what my clients are all about.
I love it.
Extra.
And then we'll be able to see how you use those tools on your hands.
Yeah,
there.
that's my tools.
I love it.
We'll see those in action later on.
We'll be right back and we'll follow you and walk through this process. And Myra, you're pretty excited about it all?
Yes, I am.
Right on. I can't wait to see the finished look.
My first step in a beaded row application is I laid a very neat and clean row of beads. And so these pockets right here, this is where I'm actually gonna be sewing. I'm not sewing under the bead or through the bead, I'm actually sewing through each side of the pocket of hair right here. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna thread my needle. So what I'm gonna do is I'm using a nylon thread because nylon does not absorb water. And so all I'm doing here is looping it through. And then I'm just gonna go through and bring the needle down and make the other sides match. And so when they're just slightly matched up, my next step is I'm gonna grab the ends to double my thread. I'm gonna do 2 circles or loops, and then I'm gonna go through, grab the other end and slip the knot through. And there we have it. We have my knot, and then I just cut off the excess down here, and then I'm ready to go. What I'm gonna do next is I'm gonna get my weft of hair, and then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna line this up, just flush against the beads, and then I'm just gonna get my clip, and I'm gonna anchor it down that way. And then I'm gonna bring it over this way, loosely, not too tight, because I don't wanna pull any extra tension from my other side. And then I'm gonna anchor it down this way. And then so next what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna cut my weft. And so I'm gonna get my little scissors, and I'm just gonna give myself just a smidge more room, just in case. There we go, that is it. And then after this, I will start sewing. Okay, so what I'm laying down is what's called my anchor stitch. So I'm doing this so that way the weft is securely anchored to my foundation, and then this is also gonna help stop, if this is gonna prevent the weft from fraying while she is wearing her install. So right now I'm working on my second whip stitch. So this is what's gonna help me anchor everything. And then so now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get my needle and I'm gonna go through the pocket of hair. I am not going through the bead, I'm coming from the top of the pocket of hair and bringing my needle through. Just bring it through a little bit more. And then I'm gonna, after I come through this pocket of hair, I'm gonna come through the back of the weft. And so I'm going through the back of the weft. And then now, so this is starting my first anchor, and then now I'm gonna pull up and I'm gonna pull taut. And so there is my first anchor. And then now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go through the bottom part of the pocket of hair, and I'm gonna, from the underneath, and I'm gonna come back up underneath. And then now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go through the back of the weft again. And so do you see where this is already starting to come? It's gonna come and it's gonna secure down the corner of my weft. You see where it's already, I'm already guiding it with using my nails. And so what I'm doing now is I'm gonna go through the back of the weft again. This is gonna help secure it. And then you see how it's laying right there on that corner? And that baby is locked down. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna come back through the top and do another one just for extra security. And then I will begin my blanket stitch after that. Okay, so now I'm gonna start my blanket stitching. And so this is really all about expertise. So what I do is I gently pull down the weft just so I could see where my pocket of hair, so I'm correctly guiding my needle through and going through the pocket of hair, and I'm coming out from underneath the weft. And so now what I'm doing is I'm pulling my needle through this loop right here. And so this is what's creating my blanket stitch. And so now as I'm pulling up, I'm gonna pull up and taut. And so you see how that stitch sits on top of the weft? That's what I'm looking for. And so that's what's gonna distribute the weight of the weft evenly throughout her hair without causing any tension or sewing through any of the beads. And then, so this is my first one, and so I'm gonna gently pull this down so I can make sure I find the correct placement. So through the pocket of hair, under the weft, through the loop, and then I'm pulling up, and I'm pulling up nice and secure. And then I'm gonna continue that through the rest of the hair and then finish off my anchor on the other side as well. Okay, so I just finished up my last stitch. So this is my last anchor stitch. So on the first side, what I did was I come up from the top pocket, but when I'm finishing, I come up from the underside of the pocket. So when I come up underneath and I go through the back of the weft, it creates this little corner right here. So what that does is it locks that corner down. And then I go from the bottom, and then I go through the top, and then I come back from the bottom again just to give some extra security. And then what I do after that is I do 3 whip stitches back this way. So what I do is after I finish my final anchor stitch, I come back 3 times, and then on that 3rd time, what I do is I'm going through the weft each time. And so when I come through my last one, what I do is I wrap my thread around it 3 times, and I pull it through, creating another slip knot. So when I pull it taut, it creates this knot right here. And what I do is I tie that knot 3 times, which is what I already did. So this is what I have left over, and so all I have to do next is just cut this piece of thread. All right, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna smooth out my thread. As you can see, it's pretty wavy because that's how it comes when it's in its spool. So what I do is I just turn my flat iron on the lowest setting, which is 360, and I just very slowly and gently, I just like to smooth out my thread, very slowly. And so what it does is that's gonna help me to create not too many knots or tangles, and it's just gonna be a lot smoother. And there it is. It's nice and straight. And then now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start my install. So another tip I like to do is when I'm installing her, just tilt your head down for me. So you see how she's got a lot of these little baby hairs and crosshairs. So when I'm sewing or laying down my foundation, I could actually catch these in there and create loops and stuff. And over the course of 4 weeks, that'll create tangles or knots. So just to get that out the way, what I do is I like to brush them up as far as they can go. And then what I do is I just gently spray and I smooth it out. See how I got rid of all those crosshairs for me? So that way, and then because this is, I'm not using any adhesive, I'm not using any keratin or tape, it's completely okay for me to use this because it's not gonna mess with any of the cylinders or, the beads or how they're laying. And so it's not gonna affect anything. It's just gonna help me to create a nice, neat, and clean install without any baby hairs or crosshairs. Okay, so one tip I like to emphasize when it comes to weft extensions, it's called trimming the beard of the weft. If we hold the weft on taut, you see these little pokey hairs that come up right here? I personally like to remove that because it creates a smoother, neater weft. It's a lot more comfortable for the client. What I do is I'll go up in direction, so if you can see those kind of poking up. And so what I do is with my shears, I gently come up, lift these up again. I come up with my shear and I very gently come up and I trim that. So what it's doing is getting rid of all those little short little pokey hairs. I'm being very careful to not cut my thread, and then I'm just gonna do that till it starts to lay a lot smoother, or until I come up and I'm not seeing as much little hairs. Okay, so I wanna get into my weft placement. So every head is different. Everybody has a different growth pattern to their hair, and what I mean by a growth pattern is this. So when I drop her hair down, my model has a split right here. So this is her God-given split. Nothing can change this. So what I have to do as a professional is I have to expertly place my top row, so that way if she's ever standing in line at the store, the wind's blowing or something like that, there's no weft showing. So what I do is I do an exaggerated U-shape underneath, so that way she can comfortably wear this, but her weft is sitting comfortably right underneath that. It's expertly hidden. So when I go in and to color everything, this is gonna just blend a lot more. Everybody's head shape is different. That's why it's always so important to go through and examine the client's, their growth pattern. Do they have any colics? I like to go through hairlines just to make sure how far up I can go, how far I can't go. All right, so what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna apply a shadow root. So I mixed equal parts 7-stroke 0 with sand and the demi-permanent developer. Just because I don't want it to be too dark. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna apply right on her extensions. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna get in there and just thoroughly saturate at the top. And this is what's really gonna help blend her extensions literally to the next level. And I'm just gonna go underneath and I'm just gonna saturate underneath as well. So everything's nice and cohesive, everything's nice and blended. And then I'm gonna, since this is at her nape, I'm gonna drag the root a little bit longer because that's naturally how our hair is. A lot of clients like to have it see more depth underneath. So I'm just gonna go through in there just like that. And then I'm gonna pick up my loaded brush with a little bit of conditioner and some water. And I'm gonna place it in here. I like to call this like my blending agent. And then using a blending brush, I'm just gonna go through and gently comb that shadow root through. And I'm gonna use my fingers. My fingers are one of my favorite blending tools. And I'm just gonna go through and blend it together or smush it together. And then I'm combing from the roots to ends because if I'm combing here and I just stop here and pull the brush out, I could leave some craziness in there and that's not cute. So I'm just gonna go from roots to ends and brush it completely through so it's a nice and even transition. You could already start to see that color oxidizing right there. And you could just see how even everything flows already. Questions I get are, oh, like, do I need to pre-color the extensions prior to the client's visit? Do I do it while they're in her hair? It's all preference. For me, I like to work smarter, not harder. So I like to install and see where the extensions are gonna be living in the hair so then I could color correctly. Because if I do a shadow root and let's say she comes in and I place it and my shadow root's too far down or it's not enough, I'm gonna have to go back in anyway and color. So it's all about working smarter, not harder. And then I'm gonna continue this onto my impact row and process her for about 15-20 minutes and just kind of keep an eye on it. Okay, so I'm gonna spray in this heat activated leave-in treatment. And so I'm just gonna spray it in very lightly. And then I'm gonna comb through starting from the bottom to evenly distribute the product. And it is heat activated, so when I go in with my ceramic round brush and my blow dryer, it's gonna heat up the hair and it's gonna help to seal that cuticle, lay it down. So it has carat beads in it, so with the physical motion of me going through with the brush like this, it's gonna be erupting those beads and it's gonna be distributing that product evenly, and that's what's gonna help seal the hair. It's super shiny and it's brand new hair compared to this. This is without the product, this is with it. Amazing. And it really does help blend her natural hair into the hair extensions. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start heat styling her hair. So I'm gonna start with spraying my hair finishing spray from Enjoy, and what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna cover her with, make sure not to get any product onto that. And then what I'm gonna do next is I'm gonna start from the bottom, working my way up, brushing and distributing that product. And I'm gonna do that all the way through. This is a really awesome spray. Super lightweight. Look at all that shine. Okay, so I'm gonna go for a big voluminous wavy look, not so much a curled look. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna grab this is like probably like a 1.5 inch wide section with my 1.5 inch curling iron. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start from here and I'm gonna evenly distribute heat. And then I'm gonna curl this section away from the face. And I'm gonna start here in the middle and I'm just gonna slowly start feeding my hair into my barrel to help incorporate her natural existing shorter pieces into the style. So that way I don't have any drop-offs, I don't have any short pieces. And I'm leaving about this much of the ends out because what I'm gonna do after the hair feels all the way heated through, I'm gonna twist like this and then I'm gonna pull through to smooth out those ends. Okay, so for this next section what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna have the curls alternate. So they're not gonna all go the same direction. I'm gonna have them go opposite directions. Kind of set in its way while it's still hot. I'm just gonna wrap it to where it needs to stay. And then I'm gonna grab my Enjoy hair finishing spray, cover that with, and give a very generous spritz. It's a soft hold spray, so it's not gonna make it tacky or gummy or hard. And then it'll be moving on to my next section. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna curl everything from the ear forward away from her face because we want her to have like that nice, beautiful, opened up look. So as you can see here, this is where her extensions are. This is her natural hair. I'm not gonna try to curl these two together because it's just not gonna work out. And then now that these are curled away, now this section is gonna get curled in, and then I'm gonna start alternating the curls.
Thank you so much for joining us today and checking out Sorority House Salon. Be sure to like and subscribe and never miss an episode.